All right, Lauri Markkanen is joining me now. Third year now for Lauri with the Utah Jazz. Eighth NBA season. Does it feel like you've been in the NBA for 8 years, Lauri?
Yeah, it's crazy. You get told as a rookie that it's going to go like a blink of an eye, but you don't really believe it. But now you're going into your 8th year, so it's kind of a surreal feeling.
So you were a teenager when you first got to the league, right?
I just turned 20 before the draft, yeah.
Okay, just turned 20. Like, if you could tell your younger self any piece of advice from what you've learned in all these years in the NBA, what would you tell him?
There's so many advice that I could tell, but I guess just it's easy to get into the business side of the basketball and whatever, but I think just having fun while working hard, I think that's the biggest thing, and just try to keep the game fun. I think that's when you get the best results, and just keep going day by day and not really worry about, it's your own race. So that's probably the biggest thing.
You were a good player in Chicago, better player maybe in Cleveland, but blossomed into the all-star that you were a couple of years ago in Utah. What has being with the Jazz and kind of this situation brought out of you?
I think you learn throughout the way. Even if I had the opportunity to lead the team like that in Chicago, I don't know if I was ready for it physically or mentally. And I think just everything clicked here. I was mature enough and good enough a player when I got to Utah, and then you get into the right system and right coaches, and I think it just happened at the right time, and I had to wait for it. So I don't know if I would have been ready for it couple of years earlier, so it's kind of keep working and keep believing, and then it clicked in Utah.
So talk to me about that system and the coaching staff, specifically Will Hardy. I mean, right before we started talking, you were out on the floor working with him on different things. What is it about this system, and what is it about this coaching staff that works for you?
A lot of ways, and just kind of way I've grown. When I was a kid, just learning how to play basketball, move without the ball. Everybody gets involved, and I think that really helped me. We ran a lot of off-ball screens and stuff like that. So then it's kind of just creating the advantage and then multiplying it. I think it was a simple way of basketball. Never really was a one-on-one isolation player. Working on it right now, kind of getting ready for those end-of-game situations, stuff like that. But I think my strength was always just like playing off ball and reading how defense is going to guard me, and then make them pay for it. So I think that's what was really helpful for me.
Did you feel like going into this offseason that the isolation stuff maybe was something that was missing from your game?
Yeah, just trying to get more comfortable with it, and it's different going in practice than in games. So I'm happy to get those game reps now, and but I think it's one big area of improvement I can get better at. So of course you keep working on a lot of different things, but that was big emphasis for me. Yeah.
So you were obviously in the headlines all summer long. People were talking about you all summer long, whether it's your contract, trade stuff. How connected or disconnected were you from all that? Like, did you try to stay away from social media, talking to your agent? I mean, how engaged were you with all the talk around you?
I wasn't really trying to avoid it, but not necessarily looking for it either. I was fortunate enough to spend all the time with the family and just working out. And I think going through it once after Chicago years before I got traded to Cleveland, I think that kind of helped me to just keep having fun with it, and really not paying attention to it, and just really trusting my agent of whatever's real, he's going to tell me. So it's kind of whatever's out there. It was kind of fun to see that you're wanted. It means that you're doing something well. But so it didn't really bother me, but I wasn't necessarily looking for it either. So.
What was it like when you were in Chicago? Were you more obsessed with it back then than you were this recent time around?
Yeah, I think being younger, and then really, I think my free agency went a lot longer that time. So really trying to find are you going to play next year? And I think it was a lot more stressful back then. So now it's kind of, no matter what happened, I still had 1 year under my contract. So it was really just getting better, just working on my game and seeing what happens in come August. So
were you hoping that the situation played out the way that it did, where you signed the contract with Utah? Now you're in a situation where you can't be traded this year no matter what. Was this the best case scenario for you?
For me, yes. Just having that talk, even though it didn't bother me that much, but just having all that talk and speculation throughout the summer for me and my family, I just wanted to have a year that I really get to focus on basketball and work on my game, and family's doing well here. So I think just having 1 year that you don't have to worry about that was really meaningful for me. So I think it couldn't play it out better.
When you had conversations with the people in the front office, whether it's Justin or Danny or whoever you were talking to, what were those conversations like about kind of what this team is going to evolve into, what the pathway to success was like?
Yeah, I have a lot of trust in them. We talked a little bit, and obviously I was here until June, so we had a lot of those future of the team conversations here in person. But once I went back home, it was, with the time difference, everything, they kind of left me alone. But it was good just knowing where we are, need to develop everybody, and we have a relatively young team, and we understand the situation, but we're getting after it every day and really trying to push this thing forward. So the conversation was good.
Was there anything specific that they said where it made you believe that there is a pathway to high-level success in Utah?
Yeah, I think it's the people. Just having that front office, what they do, and then the coaching staff, how they work with us on the court, and then most importantly, just seeing the guys the young guys that we have. They got a lot of potential. They've shown it already a little bit, but they keep getting better. They come in early every day and work hard, and I feel like they show us something new every day. So just seeing that made it better as well.
I have to ask you this. What was it like? I mean, you've signed some good contracts in your career. You've been a really good player for a pretty long time. But what was it like to sign a contract that effectively guarantees you like $250 million over the next however number of years?
It's a pretty surreal feeling. That's what you work towards to, and knowing that families and kids and their kids are taken care of, and just having that freedom, and then actually get to focus on basketball and don't have to worry about that at all. So I think that was the biggest thing for me and my family, just one less thing to worry about. But yeah, obviously it's a surreal feeling. You kind of start thinking back, growing up in Finland and getting to the NBA was pretty surreal. And then you actually get to that point that you signed that deal, and so it was a crazy feeling for sure.
Well, was that a dream early on for you to get to the NBA and play at this level? Like, when did that start becoming a real dream for you?
As a young kid, I was trying to be a NHL player, so it changed up a little bit later. But I started basketball at 5, but I don't know, I was just having fun with it and working hard. And I think at 15 years old, maybe I got invited to first the NBA camp in Europe, and that's when you kind of start realizing that we might have some opportunities coming up, and I think that's when it really hit me that, I mean, obviously it was still a really long way to go from there, but that was kind of my first step of, okay, I might have a chance. So
you want to be a pro hockey player. How does the pro hockey dream die? Do you just get kind of too tall for it? Do you realize you don't have the skills for it? How does it kind of fade away?
I don't really know. I think it was just I wasn't as good at it than I was in basketball, and then I wasn't having as much fun with it anymore. But I think it was a really good way to get my mind off of basketball and that kind of stuff. So I think I made the right decision. I grew up being 7 feet tall, so I don't know if it wouldn't work out.
I think you made the right decision as well. I read that Keontae George came out to Finland to work out with you. Was that the first time a teammate has come to your backyard to work out?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Obviously, he went to catch the Olympics as well, and he made a couple day stop in Finland, and we got a couple workouts in, and trying to get him out there a little bit longer next summer so I can show him around a little bit more. But he was the first one, and I think it was really cool to have those guys around and kind of show them where I grew up. So.
You're just days away from the start of the season. You mentioned you've been working hard with the guys over the last couple of weeks, grinding. You're in a brutal conference, as you well know. What would you define as success this season?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. The competition is really tough in the Western Conference especially, but I think just finding new stuff about our teammates, building the chemistry, and really taking those steps. Big emphasis for us has been stacking days and keep getting better and raising the floor, and I think that's what we're building. Of course, in the NBA, sometimes you have tougher days, but still finding the ability to perform at a high level and just keep getting better with the chemistry and everybody's. So I think, I don't know, we don't have a really set goal on how many wins or whatever we need to get to be successful, but I think for us the big thing is just keep getting better each and every day and not taking any days off doing that. So,
do you think competing for a play-in spot like realistic for this team this year?
I think we had a really good training camp, and it was a really positive surprise how we competed and how we played. Of course, we had a couple good preseason games as well, and a couple not so good ones, but those are the time that you learn something new about your team and how to fix those issues that you had. But we had a really good camp, and I think that's something that we can push forward to get that spot. And I think there's a lot of teams that we can beat with this competitive level that we have with these guys and athleticism and the skill that we got on the team. So I think that's a good goal for us. So.
Have you figured out some things with the front court rotation this year? I mean, you brought John Collins in last year. That was certainly an adjustment, having another big in that front court. Do you feel more comfortable with kind of how the rotation is set up this year?
Yeah, we didn't add what we had, Drew and Flip on the front court, but otherwise just having another year under our belt with the same guys and knowing what each other, where they like to get the ball and what they want to do with it. And I think that's just easier now, just having that 1 year under our belt. So with the new guys, you always learn something new every day, but I think we have that depth with our front court as well that we can kind of mix and match the lineups, and we have different skill sets for that. So.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you a couple of quick rapid-fire questions. The best defender that you have ever faced personally is who?
There's a lot of them in the NBA, obviously. Just really, physical, big wings come to mind. Like, obviously, you go from Kawhi Leonard, or Lou Dort might not be as tall, but he's really physical, and he's going to crawl up into you and really pressure you. And so you kind of have to figure out ways to how to handle that throughout the game and find some different things. But I think that kind of guys are really, I mean, that's what they do. They're really, they've made a lot of money doing it. So I would say that kind of guys. Kawhi probably the number one example,
Who's the current player that does something offensively that you hope someday you can do offensively?
Who's a player that I'll try to pick up something from?
Yeah.
Yeah, you compare, you look at different, your position, who's great at, probably Kevin Durant, how he creates space and ability to shoot the ball just over people. I think that's some things I'm trying to get better at, just trying to find your spots, and doesn't really need to be an open look, but just being taller than the defender makes it pretty open look. So I think he's one player that I look a lot. So
Is there a guy out there that you love to compete against?
I feel like all the best guys in the NBA, you always get up for those games and really trying to beat them on the floor. And so there's not one specific guy. I think whenever you have a top guy coming at you, I think it's a great feeling to get to compete against them and trying to get the best of them.
You have to travel a lot as an NBA player. Is there a favorite television show that you watch on the road?
I'm the type of guy who rewatches the same shows.
Hey, me too. Me too. I'm right there with you, man.
There's comedy with Big Bang Theory, and I'll probably watch it like 10 times now. And so stuff like that. How I Met Your Mother, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I never had you pegged for a sitcom kind of guy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of time used on the road for that, and a big video game guy too, so I don't watch too much TV and movies. So,
the favorite city that you like to visit on the road?
Visit, I would say New York.
The thing you like most about Salt Lake City?
The nature, just being outdoor.
The best piece of advice that you got from a coach before you made the NBA?
Again, there's been a lot of good advice, but I think just what I said, I would tell my younger self, just keep having fun with it no matter how hard of a days you got in front of you, but just keep having fun with it and fighting through stuff on the court, and it'll pay off eventually. So.
And the last thing for you is the best Finnish athlete not named Lauri Markkanen.
I don't really know. There's a lot of good ones currently. I got to give a shout out for Barkov in Florida winning his Stanley Cup last year. So captain of the team, and so I'll give it to him.
There we go. Perfect. Lauri, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for joining me, and hope it's a terrific season for you this year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.